Hey guys, Kingworks here, finally back after some late summer insanity and ready to jump into some more Firefall. And as you can tell, my assault battle frame is looking a little different than it did when I last recorded some gameplay footage. I am now rocking the Tiger Claw frame, which is a tier 2, and I've been focusing mainly on the center row of tech tree upgrades because regardless of which tier 3 assault frame I want to upgrade to, I need to have those center ones unlocked. So the tier 3s aren't actually available yet. They have names for them, but they don't have any sort of descriptions. So rather than pursuing one only to find out that it's not something I'm really interested in, I just decided to sort of play it safe and try to unlock the center. So it's been a while and I've been doing a lot of grinding, but unfortunately Firefall's been having a lot of server problems in the past couple of weeks, and there was just a tremendous amount of lag. From what I understood, people were farming something, and it was just really slowing the game down. I tried to record some footage a couple of times, and it just came out looking so choppy that I just could not use it. So you might also notice that the ZDSoft screen recorder is looking a little sharper. Of course, the watermark is also slightly more annoying, but I guess it's a trade-off. So I have updated that. I'm using the next version of that, 5.0 I think it is. And hopefully this looks better on your end. It seems to be looking better on my end, and didn't impact the game quite as much as it was before. So what we're going to do today is attempt to take on a chosen encampment. And this is the second one that I've found. The first one is actually down to the south. When you leave Kearney's Trans Hub and head south from there on your way to, I think it's called Broken Shores, you encounter one of these. And this one I only recently found out about. So I'm decided to go up here and try to farm these guys and maybe see if I can take this thing out. I know it's been done before, I don't know exactly how. So I'm just sort of feeling my way through it. I also discovered there's a brand new enemy. It's called the Brainworm Parasite, I think. Maybe the name will pop up here on the screen in just a little bit. This is the first time I've seen that. The Juggernauts are not new. I've run into those before. There's a small, kind of like a settlement to the south of the Trans Hub where I was doing a lot of farming, chosen, and ran into them there. And you see the bullets flying everywhere. You see the machine gun fire, which is more yellow, and then the red bullets are actually like turret towers around the encampment, and they do massive damage. In fact, I think they're probably responsible for most of the deaths you're going to see here today. I'm not sure about that, but we'll see. So there is the first time I die. And instead of a turret tower, I was killed by a thresher that was just standing there. But on the upside, we get a good look at the brainworm, this creepy little floating thing here. And so I go zooming back to Copacabana, and pardon me while I fast forward this footage here. I'm going to be doing this at a little bit increased speed, just so we're not wasting our time running back and forth, because I do this a couple of times in this gaming session. And yeah, these rocks and trees are going to be pretty familiar to you by the time this is over. They were to me anyway. So I decide when I come back up for the second time to approach things a little differently. Maybe I could sneak around and get a better vantage point. Maybe I can find a place from which to attack them that I'm not so open. And so I'm trying to creep in here from the side. And there's some rocks here that are fairly close to the camp. and I find one of the brain worms flying around. You'll see throughout this video, and actually the video that's going to follow this, I like the assault, and I think I'm pretty good. Of course, you know, the number of times I die in this video is probably going to speak otherwise, but one thing I cannot do well is shoot flying enemies, at least with the grenade launcher, or the plasma launcher. When I start encountering flying enemies, I've found it's much easier for me to start using the secondary weapon, the submachine gun or the assault rifle, which is what I have right now. Since it shoots in a straight line and it shoots pretty fast, it's just much easier for me. I think that's why the running and jumping strategy when I'm attacking most foes, that works well with the launcher, because you can aim downward and you have splash damage. But when you're firing up in the air, if you miss, there's nothing to make it explode. There is no splash damage. And I thought getting the high ground on this side was a good idea, but it was just too exposed to those towers. They were chipping the health away pretty quickly. And I was hoping by killing that guy I would get some health packs. In fact, there was going to be a couple of times you see me sort of retreat a little bit. It's going to probably almost always going to be me trying to find health. I do have the health call down, and I use that a couple of times, but I like to sort of save my power-ups when I can. You'll also notice a couple of times when my launcher starts to sort of shoot little flames out the side. That is a missile power-up for the Tiger Claw armor. That was the first thing I unlocked, and it does a set amount of damage. It does like 425 damage when you get a hit, regardless of distance, it seems like. And it seems to make the bullet or the plasma ball or whatever you're shooting go in a straight line. So it's a handy thing to use, but not quite as powerful as I'd hoped. There may be a secondary upgrade to it further on. It's only a first stage tech tree skill, and since it was on the upper level going towards one of the armors, I sort of backed off and started focusing on the center tier. So I also have discovered during my time grinding that you can, when you unlock a new piece of equipment, like the crater, the afterburner, servos, jump jets, weapons, you can build a version of them at the MPU in towns, in Copacabana and in the Trans Hub, and those printed versions tend to be superior to the ones you unlock. So if that's something you've wondered about or you're not sure you want to try, at least so far in my experience, the printed versions have been better than just using what you unlock in the tech tree. The one thing that did not have a printed version was the backpack. I actually upgraded my power pack. You see, you're going to be staring at most of the video actually as I'm running around here. It's bigger than the stock version that came with the frame, and it provides more power. I don't know that it really does much else so far, as far as like increasing my effectiveness or my damage output. I haven't really seen any benefit from there. So here we are again trying to sneak around. This time I'm going way around. I'm going to cross the river and just try to lob grenades from a distance there. And I think I was hoping that the river might be too deep for them to cross. And once you take out those towers, because it's those towers that do so much damage, the small arms fire isn't quite as deadly, although it is very annoying. I mean, you see all those bullets flying. You still gotta try and dodge it. One useful thing to note is that the Chosen will attack any wildlife that gets too close. So, like, a couple of times in this, you'll see them attack the bugs, like the arachnids. You'll see them attack the threshers. That's useful information. And in fact, you'll see later on I try to use that to my advantage with limited success. That might be generous. But yeah, the sheer amount of firepower that a chosen encampment puts out is pretty insane, especially if you don't have any cover. And their range, it seems like it's unlimited. The juggernauts, fortunately, do not have unlimited range, but the towers and the machine guns, there's supposed to be damage fall off the further away a target is when you hit it. It's supposed to be damage fall off, but I don't know if that applies to enemies or just players. If it doesn't apply to enemies, it's something that probably needs to be fixed. Because that's kind of, I don't know. At the risk of sounding like I'm whining, it's kind of unfair. I think about this point I was kind of wondering if I wouldn't have been better served to use a recon battle frame. It's the one that has the sniper rifle. But this is the other thing I learned. When you start a new battle frame, your experience, you are starting completely fresh. Even going from a tier 1 to a tier 2, you start with no experience, and anything you've unlocked in tier 1 does not apply to tier 2. So I was thinking that, you know, all the goodies I had unlocked with my tier 1 assault frame I was going to keep and improve upon at tier 2. Like my good jump jets and my gun and my regeneration armor. That's not the case. Now the Tiger Claw, when you start off, is better than the base assault frame. And presumably when you unlock everything, it's going to be better than what I unlocked at tier 1. But you do not start out with anything. So, here I am just trying to hit something in there. I was hoping for the towers, but the towers appeared to be shooting me better than I was shooting them. I'm not sure what that tower is shooting at. So, here we are, zooming back to Copacabana, watching it rebuild itself, and gonna run back like the souped up little living I am. Determined to make this thing work. I don't know if you would call this a war of attrition, in that, you know, you really have unlimited number of chances to try this, but at the same time, they regenerate as well. The towers do not regenerate that I've seen, but the Chosen keep teleporting in. So no matter how many you kill, there's going to be more, and that's part of what makes this so hard. And the fact that they are, they don't really stray too far from the base. They will come out at some distance, but not outside of the range of the guns. So they're pretty well covered. Nice little connection error there that took away most of my health right when I'm about to get into a very hostile area. You gotta love that. But I will say I'm glad that the lagging appears to have been taken care of. I don't know what... something called MPU farming, which I'm not really familiar with, although later in the video I'm going to try some... it's called thumper farming, I think. And won't it be embarrassing if that's the very thing that was causing lag? But when you get into these higher tier assault frames, it just takes a tremendous amount of experience to unlock this stuff. And without a story to sort of advance things, farming is really the only thing you can do. And I gotta be honest, I used to think the Chosen were where it was at as far as experience points go, but they take so much damage and cause so much damage that the 95 experience points you get for killing a single Chosen, you know, in that amount of time, you could probably kill more than enough arachnids to compensate for that at far less risk. Of course, I say that, and I've probably died just as much from like terror claws and the giant swarm, whatever that thing was called. You'll see it later on.
And I'm going to kill them slowly.
But those towers are the worst. I used to think the juggernauts were pretty bad, but the towers are much deadlier adversaries than the juggernauts are. And I've found that if you run up to a juggernaut, he will not fire his rocket launcher or his grenade launcher. He will try to back up and get some space. So I don't know if the splash damage hurts him and you. I did find out that my gun can hurt me. I can sort of friendly fire myself if I'm not careful, which is why I try to keep so much distance. I don't think it can hurt any other player though. That's the weird thing. Like, I can fire into, if I find another player that's being swarmed and I fire into it, I think they're fine. I could be wrong about that. I haven't verified that, but it doesn't seem like it hurts them as much as it hurts me. My own weapon. So here I am retreating to find some more health. And you can see somebody's following me. That little boost there, when you saw my rockets flare up, that's called the afterburner. And at first I thought it was the most useless ability. It didn't really seem to help me as far as running or jumping or anything else goes. But it does seem to work pretty good when you're using your jump jets. So it came with the frame. I decided to start using it. I don't know if I'm going to upgrade the ability very much. I don't know if it's that useful. But you know, if you've got a pretty wide gap to cross, it's worth having, I guess. Here I'm trying to range those towers. And you can see me finally start to take them out. Man, they do so much damage. I was kind of hoping those piles of minerals would provide some cover, but they weren't doing too much for me. There you see them start to cross the river after me. Unfortunately, it was not deep enough to protect me or keep them away from me. Fortunately, a nest of arachnids pops up and distracts them for a moment. So I only have to deal with one or two that crossed over. It's always easier to deal with just a couple at a time. That should probably go without saying. Although, I've found that the Chosen, the local events where you have the drop pods, there have been multiple times I've approached those and found that the Chosen have been taken out by the arachnids. Like if there's a bug nest that pops up nearby and they start fighting, the arachnids do pretty good. You'd think the Chosen would just mow them down with their guns, but the arachnids, especially the spitters, I've had kills stolen from me by those bugs, which is really kind of annoying, especially when I do most of the damage. Here I just kind of go crazy and decide to rush in there and try to blow something up. None of the structure seems to be taking damage. The Chosen keep warping in these square generator things, and they have some spawning points there. You see health and ammo. But I could not, once I took those towers down, I could not damage anything. And when you start to shoot the tower itself inside of that shield, there's like a lock on the health bar. So I'm not really sure at this point what you have to do to take it down. anybody knows or has some advice, please leave a comment and let me know. I'd love to figure it out. I'd love to be able to say I took one of these down by myself. But, spoiler alert, it's not going so well for me in this video. I hope that doesn't ruin the rest of the video, but my efforts are thus far being thwarted. So there was a little bit of lag this time around as I headed back. And instead of going on the left side, the rock outcroppings, and instead of crossing the river, this time I'm going to try to get way up above using the rocks on the right. You see me kind of looking up there, trying to figure out if there's a way to get across. Because generally having the high ground is very advantageous. Especially when you have a weapon that does splash damage. And it also is tremendously helpful when the enemy can't get to where you are. That's a scary thought. Chosen with jump jets. Of course, they have the brainworms now. They have the flyers, so maybe that's supposed to give them the mobility that the the ground units lack. You know, I don't have the draw distance turned up that high on my settings, but the graphics were looking pretty good there. I could see a fair bit. Usually it's kind of fogged out, but maybe it's because it was like middle of the day, and oftentimes when I'm playing it seems to be night or kind of foggy or something. But this was one of those, at least for me, it was one of those rare clear days in New Eden. So it's been 20-some minutes now, and I've gotten a pretty good chunk of experience, but this is not optimal, as you'll see in just a little bit. This is a lot of work for just a couple of thousand of experience, especially in Tier 2. I nearly overshoot the rock there and sail out over the encampment. Fortunately, I have enough jet juice to get back. And again, the range on those assault rifles, they can hit you from anywhere. It's kind of crazy. And all that damage, that's up close. My launcher can do about 400 damage. High 300s to 400 up close. But I'm only doing like 200 and some from a distance, from a pretty far distance. It's a significant fall off. Especially when they can hit you back, and as far as I know, there's no fall off on their damage. And there you can see the lock. See the health meter. I just decided to start shooting the tower, trying to make something happen. And the tower is locked. Apparently that shield is keeping it from being damaged. And I'm looking there trying to see if those blue lines, they don't seem to be attached to any of the structures. Like I thought, okay, maybe they're getting their power from a generator and I gotta destroy the generator, or maybe it's those towers, and once I take out the towers, but I just was not doing any damage to those structures, so I don't know. I wonder if I need something like a detonator, because you use detonators on the rocks. I wonder if I need those. I don't know if it'd be worth it just to run up and blow it up to find out, especially if it didn't work. At this point I was getting kind of frustrated. Not really sure what to do or how to do it, and despite having a superior position, I was still getting pegged, so I decided to just go rush in and try to do as much damage as I can. You know, an earlier game session I had played, someone had already blown up the camp, and all that was left behind was some chosen wandering around, and they also had some, I guess they're acolytes or minions or henchmen or something, that had spikes on them, kind of like the Reckless Thresher, and I haven't seen any of those guys, and this is the same place. So that's kind of curious. I don't know, maybe the secondary chosen show up at random. Maybe there's something to it as to why one appears versus the other. I don't know. That was the only time I ran into those guys, and this is the only time I ran into those brain worms, so still a lot to learn about the world of Firefall, the hows and the whys. And I've made a conscious effort not to go online and read things about the game, like, you know, just what I was talking about, and like how to defeat the camp. I've consciously avoided trying to get a leg up, just because part of me wants to do it on my own. Despite the fact that I've failed miserably this time, I don't know. There's got to be something I'm missing, and I just feel like it would be a lot more rewarding if I tried to figure it out on my own. Of course, I've kind of given up on this as a viable farming alternative. Although I guess if I feel like a challenge, this is the place to come. And this is definitely easier than the other encampment, which is further south, because that is located right up against a mountain range. So their back is sort of to the wall. They don't have to worry about people circling around behind them. And there are also a lot more threshers wandering around there. So if you don't watch your back, it's pretty dangerous. So the Chosen just keep on coming, and it's kind of surprising that I got out of there alive. Going to try to find some health packs while they busy themselves with some bugs. A couple of threshers wandering around there. One of them is going charging in there, and I think about this time I start to get an idea. You know, it'd be nice if I could get a couple of threshers in there, maybe. Because I've seen them a couple of times. I see them shoot, you know, enemy creatures. I was so close to dying right here. I don't know why I think I can go so long without taking damage. Especially when I'm down in the red like that. It's pretty crazy. So retreating again, hoping to find some more health. And what do I run across? I don't know if you noticed that there to the left, but that was a terror claw. Pretty tough customer if you don't have a safe place to stand. So this is where I start to think maybe I can lure this guy into the camp. Maybe he can do some of the heavy lifting for me, or show me something that can take damage that I'm not aware of. I don't want to do too much damage though. I just want to get him mad enough to chase me in there, but not hurt him, because I want him to be healthy when he starts taking on the Chosen. Unfortunately, it's hurting me to lure him into the camp, so... There were a couple of Chosen in the river, and that kind of threw my plan off, because at this point I thought he was following me. I thought, okay, here he comes, he's gonna just tear the place up. So I go run into the middle of camp, and they are attacking him. They are focused on him. But he's way off outside of the camp. You'll see here in just a second, he's still dealing with the guys at the river. He didn't come into that ring of towers at all, so I was pretty much on my own there. So there he is out by the river, and they take care of him pretty quickly. At this point, I had just about had enough. I didn't feel like it was going to happen for me. You know, that's 3 or 4 times I had died trying to take that thing out, and it just wasn't working. So I decided to try to do some farming of my own, some experience farming. I think some people called it meld farming or thumper farming. So first thing I'm going to do is run over to the printer and build myself a thumper if I need to. I haven't used a thumper since the one of the first quests they gave you. And oh look, there's some med packs I forgot about. That's always a nice surprise. It's like finding a couple of dollars in your pocket. So I start to build the thumper, and I happen to look at what I already have, and oh, there's a thumper there already. Well, no point in waiting around. Let's just go build some more ammunition, and then we'll head off and see what we can get into. I don't know how I feel about the items you craft that take a long time. I mean, I kind of like the fact that it does take a long time in some respects, because it's sort of realistic. I don't like the fact that I have to wait because I'm impatient. So, sort of a mixed bag there. Take it as it comes, I guess. So here we are running back through Copacabana, and I left the waypoint the same, but I am not headed back to the chosen encampment. In fact, I am headed over to a interesting little corner that I happened to see someone else farming, and it seemed to be working out pretty good for them. So I'm going to try it for myself now. Not too far away from Copacabana. Someone is farming off there to the right. I don't know if you noticed that, but there was a thumper there. That one's a little more exposed. You've got to sort of cover all your sides where that person is. The place I'm going to is in a corner where you can put your back to the wall and you have a raised ledge. That seems to be the important part, having a raised ledge to keep the all the little critters from getting up to you. I decided to try the scan hammer just to see if there's actually anything here. And I don't know, it seems to go from red to green pretty quick and then back into orange or red. But I know this area can take a thumper because I've seen it, so you just got to find the sweet spot. And really, I don't need the resources. This is just to draw the bugs out of the ground. And I think I goofed up here and actually sent it back too early. I forgot that you don't have to do anything once the thumper lands. Shows you what I know. Yep, so it goes shooting back up into the sky. And I feel pretty foolish Fortunately, there's nobody around to see me except one little bug. Also fortunate is the ability to recall the thumper fairly quickly. So I decided to kill that bug so he can't tell anybody how I goofed up. And this is where I start to really accumulate experience points. Certainly faster. I don't accumulate as much, at least in this video, but I do start accumulating a lot faster than fighting the Chosen. And there are new kinds of bugs now. They're like frost bugs, and there's one called a geyser, I think. And I'm not sure, but I think when you attack them, it's like they explode. They have an area effect that if other bugs are around, it'll damage them, or if a player is around, you might get damaged as well. And this is the part of the adventure where I come to hate terraclaws, because they always seem to be able to reach me even when I'm standing in what I think is a safe spot. So I've killed one, so I'm feeling pretty good about myself. And here comes the second one. And I think, okay, maybe I can hit him with my crater, which is an awesome power to have when you're surrounded by bugs. It also works pretty decently against a Chosen, but, you know, they have so many health points, it's just hard to take them out quickly. Look at all those red dots through the rocks there. Yeah, they have this power, or this attack where they hit the ground and make rocks go everywhere. It drives me crazy. And that's what he hit me with right there. And I don't know what was happening there. I think I kept hitting space button or something. But not content to kill me with a rock, he decides to ground me into the ground. Ground me into the ground. That's a bit redundant, isn't it? So we run back out, and hopefully my thumper's still there. And can make something of this last farming run. Yep, it's still there. I was really surprised by that. I thought that as soon as I died, they would just tear the thing apart. So there's still a group of them around. Decide to try and get some more experience. And I'm not sure who did the damage to me there. I don't know if it was one of the spitters or if there was a terraclaw. I think that spitter did it, was doing a lot of damage to me because I was sort of stuck on the rock overhead. So decide to use a healing pack. And against my better judgment, maybe it's just my greed for experience, decided to go one more round here.
Thumper incoming.
I wonder if there are certain areas that produce more enemies when you start thumping than others. Like, I wonder if areas by water are more fertile or more attractive homes for bugs to live in. Or if, like, if you tried to do it in a rocky area, if you wouldn't attract as many. It's an interesting question. Well, we're almost at the end of the video here, and I just want to give you sort of a little heads up. This particular session extends a little bit beyond where I cut this, because I felt like what happens next kind of deserves its own little, I guess its own little video. It's an extension. It's a continuation of this adventure, but at the same time, it's something completely different. And I don't know if you've heard about these in the game, but there is a particular meteorological event that now happens, and I'm trying to hint at it without giving it away. So I hope you will join me next time. There's the big old Swarm Lord. I call him a Swarm Lord, that's probably not what he is. I couldn't read it there. So I hope you'll join me next time, and see what happens when I attempt to take on Mother Nature, so to speak. Thanks for watching. As always, you're welcome to leave comments. I'd love to get some feedback, some input on how things are going, what you'd like to see, what you think works, what you think doesn't work. If I had Facebook, I'd tell you to like me, but to be honest, I'm not a Facebook fan. I do have a Twitter account, Paul_Kingworks. Don't think I say too much interesting on there, so you're welcome to drop by, say hey. It's all good. Until next time, may your thumper draw up many bugs.